Ready? We'll call the meeting to order of the Wright County Planning Commission for May 16th. First order on the agenda tonight is the meeting minutes from April 25th, 2024. Has everybody been able to look that over? And if so, do I have a motion to approve? Barry?
One correction on the minutes, Mr. Chairman, the condition number 3 on the Mueller's approval referenced a condition that actually isn't applicable to that request, and so we're just gonna strike that from the minutes
Okay,
and from the order that gets created out of the minutes.
okay. With that amendment,
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, to approve the minutes with that change.
I'll second.
motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same way. Motion carries. First item on the agenda tonight is Arbor Creek Holdings LLC, and that went for findings, and public hearings were closed on that. So Barry, when you are ready to open it up, and Sandy would like to say something also.
So do you want me to go after you or before you?
After me.
Okay.
Yeah, this was continued from the last meeting for findings for approval. Those findings have been drafted and are before you for review. So we'd be looking at any changes to it and motion on those findings.
Okay? Do we have any discussion up here? Sandy?
I went home after the last meeting and I just had a really hard time with this. I changed my vote at the last second. We had been discussing this for so long. I just don't feel like I voted properly. And I'd like to make a motion at this time that we move for findings to disapprove Arbor Creek Holdings.
So that is a motion.
That is a motion.
And I will second that. I wasn't here, but I will say that after looking at the discussion, I was at the site visit with the members of the township. And the members of the township at that site visit said, I don't know why we were made to come, because you're gonna do whatever you wanna do and you're not gonna go with what we have to say. And I told them, I looked them in the eye and I said, we take the township very seriously, what they said. They have said twice now that they do not approve of the bluff. So then I went to Soil and Water and I asked them what their thoughts were. And they said, that's a lot of gravel. So I had them pare it down for me, how much gravel, topsoil, or whatever you want to say, to go and bank up. Because when I was on that site visit, that is very flush with Lake Sylvia, that bottom portion. And he said it would take 500 truckloads of dirt over that bluff to go and fill it to build that house.
With a truck that holds 14 yards,
14
cubic yards.
And I think, why would we want to do that? And then you know that there's other properties that are going to want to do the same thing. We're setting precedents. And I just feel that the township is in charge of that lake. The Lake Association is against it. Wright County Soil and Water isn't fond of the idea at all. And I just think this is not, from everything, I feel like we are going against the township by making this, so I too am not for this at all.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
Well, I agree with what you said, and thank you for.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for making those statements, and I'm glad that you made them motion to amend the findings. I would agree with that.
All right, is there any other discussion? Greg?
Mr. Chair. I don't know.
I'll just talk up really loud.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just so that there's clarity in what the motion is, it would be to direct the Wright County Attorney's Office to draft findings consistent with denial to be reviewed then at the next meeting. Barry, that's in
June 6th.
June 6th.
Correct. And is that within our time period?
Yes,
So we still have,
I think we have until July,
So,
if I remember right. There we go.
July 27th.
all right. Is there any other discussion here?
I would just like to ask you a question, Mr. Chair. The motion was made to amend the motion, and what is it now that we haven't voted on anything yet?
We haven't amended any motion. The
Yeah.
motion is
Yes,
to
to
direct
amend.
staff for denial.
Yes, okay,
Continue it until next month.
okay. And we can do that without revoting on this?
That is, I have a motion on the floor, and
Yes.
that's what we are voting on.
And then we're going to vote on that now? Excellent, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of the denial signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Let it show that Dan Bravender and the chairman voted against. So that being said, under item one, there is, as far as the other one, is a non-discussion, correct?
That's correct. This matter at the last hearing was closed to further oral and written comments. We did get one comment that was summarily deleted, Mr. Chair, because that was in violation of our rules and procedures. There will be no further written or oral comments in this proceeding, so our office will draft findings consistent with denial and present those at the next meeting for the Planning Commission to review.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Did we want to have a short pause, Barry? Okay. We missed it last.
For the planning commission, yep, over at the county boardroom. Cheryl, that's in Cheryl Royal.
All right, item 2 on the agenda tonight is Mark Butler. Do you want to come to the podium, please? Give your name for the record, and we will get started.
Mark Butler, Minnesota Paving and Materials, here for an interim use permit for a hot mix asphalt plant at our Annandale pit.
All right.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this item was continued from the last meeting so the applicant could meet with the township. As noted, this is for a temporary hot mix plant. The request is for 2 years. in an existing pit. All the information, the plans have been provided to the commission in their packet. We do have the existing mining plans with the associated approximate plant location noted on it. The applicant has been to the township. The township did grant approval with condition that days and hours of operation be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They requested the township be notified of any operations outside of those hours, which by our rules, that requires its own separate permit or separate approval, so it's not an if/or. It's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. unless otherwise granted by this commission. And noise be kept to a minimum and only during the hours of operation. Reading through the township's response to, it looks like they did only approve that for a 1-year period of time, not the 2 years requested.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't agree with the 1 year, but
Okay. Is there anything up here the board would, before I go to the public?
Just one question, Mr. Chair. When it comes to Saturday operations for your outfit, how's that gonna work? Is it gonna be every Saturday that you can work?
depends on the job.
Really no answer to how it's gonna be, maybe five times in a year, or?
It could be none if we don't get any work in the area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if you want to have a seat, I'm going to open it up to the public, and then you can come back up and have any rebuttal to what may come up. With what we have on the agenda tonight, I would like to keep all responses between 3 and 4 minutes, and by 4 minutes, I'd like you to be finishing up, please. So is there anybody that would like to comment on this matter? Anybody that would like to comment on this matter? I guess you can come back up, and we'll bring it back up here to the board. Does the board have any questions beyond or concerns beyond what we have in our packet and what's being asked for? If not, do I have a motion? I guess first thing I would ask is the township is asking for 1 year, the applicant is asking for 2 years. How does the board feel about that?
I feel 1 year. Because I think we need to support what the township has their reasons for asking for 1 year. And if he's good in 1 year, then we look at extending it. That's my,
Okay,
What does the extension look like? Would I reapply, pay the fee, do this whole song and dance, or would it be
Yep.
township is good with it?
yep, you'd be doing this
Okay.
whole thing. Repeat it again as to what you just went through. Meet with the township first,
Yep.
and then come meet us.
Okay.
Same thing, same process.
By our definition, it is a new permit. It's not just an extension. I mean, in reality, it's an extension, but we process it as a new application.
and it's nothing personal, it's just, like he said, it's new. We need to see how you do business this next year.
Yep, no worries.
Dan?
Mr. Chair, now, are you gonna be operating in the 24 season or not?
Right now, it's not looking like it. So
So if we struck off the 24 season, you'd be okay with that?
I'd like to wait another month or two until bidding
Well, the
season
problem
is
is
kind of
that
done.
if we approve it for 2020, for one season, it's only 2024.
So would we be able to approve it right now for 2025?
If it goes with where the board is leaning now, it would be one season, 2025, not 24. If you want 20, it'd be one or the other.
But is the but has it been applied for as that? It's been applied for two seasons. So then that we'd only be granting them the one season, 25 and not 24 is what you're saying, Dan.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a feel as to what's gonna happen in 24. And I would be okay with with doing the 24 and 25 season, because at this stage of the game, to get everything set up and operating. He's not going to be operating in a full season right now. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Okay,
Okay?
Mr. Chair,
Ken?
I would be in favor of two-year season, 24 and 25.
And that can be set up too with the township review in 1 year, and the township can ask for a new hearing as part of that.
Oh, they can?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we send them a form that they would respond on. The applicant would be required to meet with the township. If the township finds that it's, something that they wanted to reopen up, that's how they would respond to us. We'd notify the applicant that he needs to come back and go through a new hearing.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Any other discussion? If not, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve an interim use permit for a temporary hot mix asphalt plant in accordance with the narrative plan and discussion from the meeting with the following conditions. Approvals for the 24 and 25 seasons only. Hours of operation 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Operations prohibited on Sundays and county designated holidays as of January 1, 2023. This is in accord with Wright County Code of Ordinances, which also states, unless otherwise specified by the Planning Commission, the applicant appears to be asking for 7 days a week of operation. The applicant has also asked for a 6 a.m. warm-up time, which needs specific approval. Any intensification or change in the days or hours of operation requires a new interim use permit. Methods of odor control must be used as submitted in application materials. The plant must operate in compliance with all applicable state and federal requirements. Township review in 1 year. This interim use permit shall expire December 31st, 2025. In this motion, when it comes to the startup time, do we need to address that in a separate?
I recommend you do it now.
Do it now? I'm recommending in the motion number 8, a startup time of 6:30.
Okay.
We've done that in the past with the other asphalt plants, so.
Is that strictly for startup of the plant itself?
Startup
Does-
of the plant,
Does not include
Lining
any,
up trucks.
no trucks or anything,
trucks.
that's just startup time for your plant. So any people on the site have to be associated with that startup time. Or with the warm-up, I should say. Okay,
I would second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion on that motion?
I will
Well,
tell you, I will tell you if they're turning on equipment at 6:30, they're gonna have trucks lining up if they're starting at 7, right? I mean, owned dump trucks for years. I know when they start lining up. So that's the only thing I would caution when you say 6:30, those trucks are gonna be lining up at 6:30.
and the new ordinance provisions do not allow for queuing or stacking of the trucks on public roads. So as a pit operator, you're gonna have to provide area for them to queue and stack off of the county highway.
Janice?
Yes, the, I just was wondering if there was a way that we could have something here in this motion that would recognize the fact that the township wanted this to be a 1 year, and we are extending it to 2 years because of the time of the year that this is being applied for, or something. Is that why, so that we don't just approve it for another 2 years, or that this concept is going forward? I don't know if there's any way to do that or not, but I would probably vote against this then if there isn't some sort of clarification that when the county or the township has said that they would like it to be reviewed at the end of the year, that would be the year of 2024. So if there isn't some sort of a,
I think we're making some concession by having the township review it in 1 year. So it will go back to the township.
It would go back to the township at the
And
end of
then they
this
can
year.
kick it to us.
So they can go back to at the end of 2024. Okay, then I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Member Thompson and Commissioner Holland, just to clarify, the motion as stated did say township review in 1 year, which arguably could be May of 2025, which would arguably also could be in the start of construction season next year. So are you looking at the fall? I mean, I think if we just clarify for purpose, or the winter of 25, sometime before the construction season, is that
Winter of
what I'm
20.
gathering from the discussion? 1 year would mean after this season, this construction season.
Winter of 24.
Yeah.
Dan, it's your motion.
Mr. Chair, I guess I would like to add to the motion that the township would review it in February of 2025.
Okay.
Okay?
Second?
That would be acceptable to me, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have that clarification. All right, is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 3 on the agenda tonight is Derek Nico. If you want to come up and give your name, please, for the record.
I'm Derek Nico with Derek Nico Excavating, seeking an extension of our existing gravel permit for 10 years.
Okay,
Yes,
when you're ready.
Mr. Chairman, the property is north of Waverly, kind of southwest of Buffalo, east of County Road 9, and it's been approved for a 10-acre site. Based on the aerial, that's not all of the 10 acres. It's currently being active. That aerial's 2023. You can see it in the southeast corner of the blue box. The total extent of the mining is that plan right there, which was approved in 2021 on the 3-year permit. So looking at these 3 or 4 acres into a 10-acre site, roughly 113,000 cubic yards of material left to be moved, with roughly 7 acres left to be mined. Again, this is a new permit to extend that current operation. As noted, it is kind of in an area that's not developed. This aerial doesn't show it very well, but there is another active mining operation on the parcel to the southeast. That one's almost finished, if I'm not mistaken, or is finished. They're pretty much run out of material. And then there's another pit farther to the south that accesses off of County Road 9 by a different operator. We have received approval from the township. I see that here, for an additional 10 years with township review every 2 years.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
That's pretty much it.
Okay. Is there anybody up here that has anything before I go to the public? If you want to just have a seat, and I'll open this matter up to the public. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on this? Is there anyone here that would like to comment on this matter? All right, we'll bring it back up here, and if you want to come back to the podium. Does anybody here have questions, concerns on this matter? How do we want to proceed?
Mr. Chair,
Ken?
I'd like to address the applicant, please. As you may have noted in our previous item here this evening, there's sensitivity to trucks queuing up on the gravel roads and such. Do you have adequate space down in the pit for your vehicles coming in?
Yeah, and it's a very small operation. It's not, we have 2 dump trucks, so
Okay.
we start at 7 at our shop, and we usually aren't to the pit till about 7:15 or 7:30.
Good enough. Thank you so much.
Is this relatively, to say, a private pit?
Pretty much. I mean, we deliver locally to, people around the area, class 5 and gravel for houses and stuff, so,
But you're not necessarily doing road projects where you're bringing in
no.
large amount of trucks and a lot of
Just,
traffic?
just our 2 trucks is usually, I have a few other guys that come in there every now and then, but it's very small. It's not a huge operation by any means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? If not, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion. Motion to approve the interim use permit for mining in accord with the narrative plan and discussion from the meeting with the following conditions. Number one, existing reclamation surety be kept up to date for the duration of the mining activity. 2, subject to township review every 2 years. 3, any expansion or intensification of the activity shall require a new interim use permit. And 4, this permit shall expire and all reclamation shall be completed no later than 12/31/2034 or upon transfer of the property, termination of any lease agreement, or change in business ownership.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? There's no other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 4 on the agenda tonight is Justin Dooley. If you want to come to the podium, please, and give your name for the record, and we'll get started.
Good evening, Board. Justin Dooley with Fountain Hill Winery.
All right, when you're ready, Barry.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this property is an established winery and venue located on County Road 30, formerly and originally permitted as Woodland Hill Winery, now called Fountain Hill Winery. Property is zoned ag in the land use plan. It's been through hearings in 2007, 2010, 11, 12, 2 amendments in 2021, Board of Adjustment in 2022 to add the second parcel there to the east, and another hearing in 2022 with another one in 2022 as well. Most recently, it was before us for the Ice Palace, which no longer takes place on the property. This request is for a winter attraction, which would include, see here, this one here, an ice structure, sledding hill, and an outdoor skating rink with associated food vendors. As part of that, the parking area would be increased to allow for roughly, I believe it's 90 spots in the parking lot.
It's
Total?
it's about 115.
115, okay. This operation, similar to what was done in the Ice Palace, with the conditions that are on the winery, it's limited to 20 events. Events are anything more than 100 people. With these types of attractions, you exceed that, your first 20 days you're open. And so what we're looking at and what's being applied for is to suspend that limitation during the operation of this winter attraction if approved. So it's not subject to those same limitations on the number of visitors. So that's in essence what the request is to allow the activity and then to suspend that condition of that previous winery CUP, similar to what was done in 2022. So that's what I have. We did receive approval from Franklin Township in their approval. They suggested a condition to have the permit expire in a year. So basically this permit would be, just for instance, and I believe that was done with the Ice Palace as well, December 1st of the year given to May 1st of the following calendar year. So it actually runs about 6 months. And then also they requested that the Planning Commission discuss potential security and traffic control measures that may be deemed necessary by this commission. We did not receive any other comments on this request. That's what I have.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I would. If you guys don't mind, I know you guys have a long agenda, so I'm going to try to make this quick. But other than what Barry touched on here with obviously Fountain Hill Winery, looking to do the Winter Festival, we aim to start mid-December and hopefully go through mid-March. I only put on the application December 1st through the end of March because we'd like to go as obviously long as possible, of course, weather pending. This event will serve as an affordable, essentially winter playground for both children and adults, while the Ice Palace had, touching on Barry's point about a lot of talk about the Ice Palace, while it had presented its challenges, the joy and community engagement was fostered was truly rewarding. I want to stress that our goal at Fountain Hill Winery is both to provide a environment that is both family friendly and, that adults can enjoy as well. And I think, we hit the nail right on the head with that from day one. And I couldn't have done it without the support of the team and community, and we hope to keep going along those lines. In regards to a couple comments that Franklin Township made, security, again, we haven't had any issues, don't plan on having issues. All of our employees and bartenders go through TIPS training, which is essentially a online certification that entails and gives suggestions and observation on what to do if somebody is overserved and how to go about approaching that individual. Thankfully, knock on wood, we have not had that or had to perform any of those. And then the crowd control and traffic measures. This event is going to be roughly, I would say, about half the size, if not less, than what the Ice Palace had out there. In terms of community involvement and overall nature, if you will, of having an open space, I don't feel that was met with Ice Palace, and that's going to look very different. Along those lines, we have online ticketing allotted for an hour and 15 minutes per group versus my predecessors were roughly 30 minutes. That ticket limit is only the limit is only for the number of vehicles that we're allowed to park in the parking lot at once. And again, it's for an hour and a half, hour 15 versus 30 minutes. And that ticket limit would be set at 115. And I believe the predecessors were set at about 700. So again, it's gonna have a completely different feel and atmosphere. It's gonna look very, very different. The goal is to make it as large, as the notes say, but it's the first year doing it, so it might be 10 by 10. I don't know. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here, or should I open to the public first?
I have a couple of questions.
Sandy?
We were given information that the ticketed events would have time slots of 1.25 out. Is that correct?
Yeah, about an hour 15.
And does the next time slot start at exactly that same time? Like when one ends, does the next one stop, or is there a buffer in there to get cars out before you get more cars in?
I haven't put a buffer in there, and the reason for that is with the Ice Palace event, our average turn per customer, our POS system is run by Toast, if you're familiar with that. But the average turn time per customer, the longest was an hour and a half, and the shortest was 15 minutes. So that's them getting a beverage at the bar, and then keeping the tab open, and then closing it at the end of the night.
Okay.
So I don't feel, that's kind of why we're setting it for as long as we are.
I have a few concerns, and I will tell you this is from personal experience. This isn't the board. This is my personal experience. When you came to us last time and wanted to do the Ice Palace,
Sure.
I took you at your word. I was one of the people that approved it. I took my family and went out there and was so sorry that I had anything to do with approving it. There was pizzas being served out of a barn that didn't have an occupancy certificate. There were no gloves, no hair pulled back. I almost broke my leg in the gutter because I stepped and the board flipped and went outside. First thing I saw when I came in was somebody had put several dump truck loads of Class 5 in a wetland. And we had specifically asked you that you could not touch those wetlands, that you could go out around them, but you could not go through them. And there was twice as much parking as you told us there was gonna be in the field.
I don't recall what the parking was gonna look like. I just know that that's where the parking was.
But
going
you
to be.
came through a wetland you filled in a wetland.
And again, going back to my comment about the Ice Palace presenting its challenges, it was my property, yes.
Was
I
your
don't-
CUP.
It was my CUP, and it's presented its challenges, and it's continuing to present challenges. Now, with that being said, the Ice Palace will not ever be at Fountain Hill Winery ever again. I can't do anything about what the past and what they have made that look like out there. Alls I can do is try to improve it.
What about the food being made in a building that didn't have an occupancy certificate? Because we talked about that too when you came in.
Yep, and I'm working with Barry and Troy on the septic permit.
Septic permit has nothing to do with that. That barn does not have an occupancy, and there's no way the Minnesota Health Department would approve that to have food being made in it.
So actually, the kitchen itself is permitted. It would be, the part that isn't permitted or wouldn't be permitted is if there's actually people in the building, the public in the rest of the building that isn't the kitchen. The kitchen's permitted from a standpoint of, Justin got the permit for the oven to go in there. That's been permitted and inspected by the building inspector.
In the winery kitchen or in
Nope,
the
nope,
barn?
it's in the barn. It was permitted to be placed in the barn. This commission at one point said you can put, it used to be in a food truck, and the commission granted a CUP to allow it to be put in a new or different building. And so Justin came and asked for it to be, the kitchen to be in the barn. The kitchen is approved to be in the barn with an outdoor
And there
kiosk for outdoor ordering, but not for actual
And
seating
there
within the
were
barn.
makeshift tables inside that people could sit in there and eat. And that concerned me, because that was not.
That part had not been permitted.
So I
There's
guess,
no change
Justin,
in
I
use.
just wanted to let you know, I'm looking at this through a whole different pair of sunglasses than everybody else, because I personally went out and was excited about checking out your facility and was very disappointed.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll open it to the public. If you want to just have a seat for a second there, and we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this matter? Gentlemen there, please give your name for the record, and we can try to hold it to 3 or 4 minutes.
Absolutely. Dick Burrell from Woodland Township. I just wanted to tell my experience with the Ice Palace. We went out with a group of friends. Came down from St. Cloud. I think there was 8 or 9 of us. We had an absolutely fabulous time. It was one of the best events that we've attended locally in the winter. And I'd strongly recommend having some place where we can do this stuff instead of Duluth. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this? If not, we'll bring it back up here to the board.
May I come back up there?
Yeah, please come up. And I guess anything else you want to add, or otherwise we'll,
No, but try to read from my notes, but that just botched it.
okay. Is there any other questions, concerns? Is this,
Few questions.
okay, yeah.
So first of all, when you did the Ice Palace, you had a company that was doing this. How is this going to be structured now? Is it similar to that with somebody doing it, or are you going to be working in tandem with somebody?
Nope, I will, so I've got a patent pending on the design of these ice molds, so we're not gonna be spraying any water. We're not gonna be using, hopefully Mother Nature will, work with us a little bit to hold the ice
Better than last year?
better than last year. But, so yeah, patent pending on the mold of these ice logs versus ice towers or structures that they sprinkled water on. But then I'm also looking at having an engineer come out and just checking like the structure of it and whatnot. I know the Ice Palace doesn't do that currently, but the goal would be to, I don't know how much you guys know about ice, but it is very, very, very strong. I broke the forks off my skid loader trying to tip it over early May to try to get the ice to melt. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay. Ken?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Dooley, you said you're looking at getting a structural engineer, did you say?
Yeah, an engineer. I don't know if there's too many engineers out there that specialize in ice, but that's why I say I'm looking at seeing who's out there that could come and look at the structure of it. Again, I'm not concerned at all about anything falling or tipping, especially from what I witnessed last year in the city of Delano. If that ice can hold during 60-degree weather in December, this structure that I hope to build will be well held together.
Do you happen to know what the industry standard might be on that? Is it typical to have them, structurally evaluated once they're up, or no?
I do not know that. No, I only say that because if I'm going to build somebody a house, I would have, and I don't have any
All right.
construction background.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just one thing I'd like to add is as far as that sketch goes to that ice skating rink, that's going to be kind of a secondary if there's time type of deal. So I don't know if there's going to be an ice skating rink or not. That's just, I added that just because that would be nice to have.
Okay.
But
I have two questions.
Sandy?
One is, do you intend to have like a hockey enclosure around that structure or just snowbanks around the ice skating structure?
Mother Nature lets us snowbanks.
Okay. And then does the city of Delano require you to have insurance on this play area?
So this is Wright County, or Franklin Township that I'm in, so the city doesn't have any say. But I mean, with that being said, I will carry, other than the coverage of my current policy, I will carry a special event insurance policy like I did when the Ice Palace was out there, even though that they had their own as well.
Thank you.
Janice?
I didn't go to visit your structure, your ice palace last year. On this structure that you might be building for the ice rink, is that going to be a total building made out of ice, including the roof of the building?
No, that would be neat, but no.
Okay,
No, there would just be walls.
just walls,
Yep,
okay,
yep.
okay. Well, that
And it
would be,
would-
yeah,
and it
okay,
would-
that answers my question, thank you.
And it would be, if you guys are familiar with the retaining wall, that's how these rectangular blocks or logs would sit on top of each other, essentially like a retaining wall, and how it's staggered.
I guess my question for the board would be this: is this something we need to do a site inspection on, being things are changing? And the s- and the scope and the size of the parking lot, and, if we were to do that, I guess I would ask the applicant, we've done other site inspections where you put out some stakes, so we can get an idea of the scope of the size of the parking lot, the size of, the structure that you're gonna be building. And even the sledding hill, type thing of where that's gonna be positioned and the size of that, and
Sure.
so we can get a scope of what we're potentially permitting here and what it may entail.
I would move that we do a site inspection.
I'll second that.
We have a motion made and seconded for a site inspection. Is there any more discussion?
Just one more question on the parking.
Yep, Dan?
Are you intending to still use the one entrance for the parking? Because you're gonna increase it?
Just our main parking.
Yes.
Yeah, so the other property to the east, that's not gonna be anything, that's being leased to a farmer. And the goal would be to eventually plant vines onto it, but no, there's no parking or vehicle movement over there.
Okay, so you're gonna be just coming in on that one entrance that already exists?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, Member Bravender, if I could follow up on that. The Wright County Highway Department actually specifically with their access permit, I think over on the northeastern portion, stated that he can only have one access open at a time. So if he's using this access off of the, I guess, the western portion of County Road 30, the other access has to be closed.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor of a site inspection signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way. Motion carries. At the end of the meeting, the board up here will set up a time and a day, and then if you just want to call into Barry and find out when that is,
Sure.
that way you don't have to stay for the end of the meeting.
Email
good.
works too.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Number 5 on the agenda tonight is Richard Davis. You wanna come up and give your name for the record, and we'll get started.
Hi, Richard Davis, Monticello.
All right.
I'm here, my father passed December 30th this year. Lived on that farm.
If you want to just hold on, we'll have Barry give us an overview, and then we'll open it up to you.
Oh, very good.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the property's 37.5 acres on the southwest corner of County Road 39, also known as 95th Street and Jaber Avenue Northeast in Monticello Township. It is abutting the city of Otsego to the east. This request is to rezone the property from general agricultural to agricultural residential, which is the designation in the Northeast Quadrant Land Use Plan for the property. If approved, the applicant would be coming back for a 3-lot subdivision, all lots meeting the 300-foot road frontage and 10-acre lot minimum requirements. We did receive one neighbor comment recommending denial due to the negative impacts the rezoning would create. Soil and Water Conservation District has responded that there are wetlands on the property, and a wetland delineation should be completed at the subdivision phase of the rezoning, or ultimately of the request. The applicant has not met with Monticello Township. I did look at the township's agenda today, and he is scheduled to meet with them next week.
Okay, thank you. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No, he did real good.
All right. Is there anybody up here that would like to question before I go to the public? Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this matter? Is there anyone in the public? Okay. Normally, what the board does is we like to hear from what the township has to say. And if you haven't gone to the township, we don't have the recommendation yet as to what
Right,
what
we're
they would like.
supposed to meet them Monday night.
Yep.
So,
Yep. So I guess it's important you meet with the township. So
Yep.
I guess if anybody else here on the board has any other comments or concerns?
I would just
Dan?
like to make a motion to do a site inspection on this and continue it to the June,
How big do you want June 6th to be?
oh, thank you. This will be quick.
This big.
We have 8 new items on it today. We've already continued to that meeting, so now we have 10. So just letting the board know what you're setting yourselves up for on June 6th. But it's standard procedure to do the next meeting. But I didn't want the board to
When's the
not,
meeting after that, July?
no,
Well, That's why we're here, Barry.
Yeah.
I'm good with it. I'm just,
Eh.
there again, the commission likes to know these things and
Yeah.
how big the agendas are.
Yeah.
Well, we've received 8 new applicants as of today, which is the cutoff, and so now we have 10 on there already. This makes 11. So, just so you know, that's it.
Thank you for letting me know, Barry.
You're welcome.
So, do we have a
I'll second the
Motion
site
made.
inspection.
made and seconded for a site inspection and continue to the June meeting? Is there any other discussion? If not, all those.
June 6th, just to be,
June
June
6th.
6th for clarification. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. So at the end of this meeting, we're gonna set a time and a day to come out and look at your property.
Okay.
And in that time, you'll also meet with the township, and we'll get the township's recommendation. And then you come back at the June 6th meeting, and we'll make a decision, I hope.
Oh, everything delayed another month.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say you're welcome, but I don't think you're probably happy, so. All right, number 6. Number 6, Sehar. I can't say the name well, so I'll let you come up, Paul.
Good evening, Paul Otto with Otto Associates, representing Saeed. I don't know how to say his last name either, but
Okay,
Pagani?
something like that, yeah.
all right, when you're ready, Barry.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the property's 35.44 acres, sits along 128th Street and Estes Avenue in Silver Creek Township, zoned ag, and part residential recreational shoreland, S2, and does not have a building entitlement, so it's currently a restricted property. The shoreland portion of it only exists in the, kind of the upper portion, and I think even a little bit into the bottom portion where it gets closest to Limestone Lake, so a little bit on Ember and a little bit from Limestone. It is not in the land use plan. It is currently ag in the land use plan, and as mentioned, zoned ag. The ultimate proposal would be for a 3-lot subdivision if rezoning were to get approved. This is the concept plan that has been provided at this point in time. We did receive a response from Silver Creek Township. They noted that they do not approve of the request because it does not comply with the land use plan, is not rare and unique, and is too far from other AR areas. There are 2 responses that were sent to Silver Creek that Silver Creek included in their response. Those have been attached to your packets.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I think Barry covered it fairly well. Yeah, we are asking for rezoning. This property is a little bit unique. What's rare? Rare is very subjective, but unique is a little bit less. The property's along Ember Lake in about mid-90s, early 90s. The road was actually moved back away from the lake. So it actually came into this property. Part of this property was eaten up by those parcels. They're all kind of long and skinny up into there. So some of this land has already been taken away. There was a remnant piece of this parcel that's left on the north side of the road. That's kind of just orphaned there, but it is a part of this PID. It does not touch the lake, so it is not riparian on the lake. It is in the shoreland area, but it is not riparian. So that's some of the reasons why I think it's unique. It also does drain to a wetland, which drains into Ember Lake. Ember Lake's a natural environment lake, so that's a little bit of a unique circumstance as well. The land use plan is coming that way. It's either side of it, and to the south, it's kind of out in a little U. It is not in the land use plan yet, but you can see it's working its way there. So I guess we're asking for consideration to see if this is the time or if it's still premature or where we're at with it, so,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Is there any questions here before I open it to the public? Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this?
I did have a
Okay,
question.
try to keep it to 3 to 4 minutes, and obviously one at a time. I'll recognize you. Gentleman there in the back, please come up.
Could you just clearly state your name, full name and address
Can I wait?
No, just your name and address.
Okay, Greg Larson, 13241 Endicott Drive. It's one of the large lot sections on the north shore of Ember Lake, Clearwater, Minnesota. We used to be the youngest couple on that lake. Now we're the oldest.
Hate
So-
when that happens.
Yeah. One of the things that we have been fighting over a long period of time is the word inevitable. This is inevitably going to happen, so you have to roll over and just let it happen. And that's been an attitude that we have fought against very, very hard for 20 years, because this is not the first situation that we've looked at. If the township has a certain number of reasons why it doesn't fly, that works for me. It is agricultural land. It has been in crops. I don't see a reason really that it should change. Also, is the owner here the person who owns that land?
No, just please address the board.
Just a question, was he here? Because the last time we put up with this, that owner never showed up for whatever reason. So it's like somebody's got money, they want to make a profit off of it, and they're not going to bother to, give us any idea why, other than the profit. I mean, if they're going to build a house or something, but to me, it's just money looking for an opportunity to make itself bigger or more. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like? Gail there in the back?
Hello, Sarah Bonvalet, 4529 128th Street. We own the property adjacent to this. We actually own the wetland that runs into Ember Lake. And so my big concern is we have development happen in a sensitive area that's going into an environmental lake. So that's my high concern. We've only been there for 7 years, so we're considered young out there. But I feel like the community around, especially Ember Lake, really wants to see that lake protected as an environmental lake. And as one of the residents, I too would like to see that protection. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Someone else over there?
Yeah, so Ole Knutson, 4802 128th Street. I own the property on the west side of the lake, and similar to the other concerns, it's a small natural environment lake. I don't know what the intent of this is, other than put 3 houses, I guess, near the lake, because I don't think it has access, but that's would be the concern. The lake does not have the size to really accommodate more people using that lake.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anyone else that would like to make comment? There in the back?
Patty Hickman, 13002 Furman Avenue, Clearwater. I'm on the east side of Ember Lake. The reason this land is restricted is because years ago when the road did get moved, the building entitlements went to the lakeshore properties. So that little strip of cabins on the lake, that one of the building entitlements from that property went there and the other went to the limestone. And so this property would be basically secondary development to both Ember Lake and Limestone Lake. And like we've said, Ember Lake is a very tiny lake, under 60 acres. It can't handle a lot of traffic on the lake. And this is just another thing that we have to fight. What is the purpose of trying to say that it's unique when it's not unique? The little piece of chunk that's there is there because when the cabins got moved, or when the road got moved, the cabins all got a little piece, and that little piece was left over. That's why it's there. It doesn't touch the lake. And so it's something that we really feel strongly about. Every time something like this comes up, we're very vocal about it, not wanting it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Great. Gail there in the back, please.
Sarah Neters, 12973 Endicott Drive Northwest. I live on the east side of the lake, and as everyone else has talked about so far, being a natural environment lake, we really want to protect that lake. So the fact that there's agricultural zoned area around it, we prefer it would stay that way and not risk having changes that could inevitably lead to more riskier development.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to comment? There in the middle, with your hand up? Yep.
Patty Canesi, 12291 Estes Avenue Northwest. We're at the end of Estes Avenue, and I do not believe that this is a rare or unique circumstance in any way. He brought up that there are different lots developed around the area, and the lots that were to the north of the property were riparian lots. So that's part of the reason they were probably able to do that, even though it wasn't part of the land use plan. The lots on Limestone to the west and the ones on Ember to the north were all developed lots prior to the comprehensive plan or the land use plan. So that, you know, right now maybe would probably not be approved of for those either in the same way that they are. If you look at all the land to the south of the property and then west or east, that's all contiguous farmland all around there. So the farmers that would be farming that can get from one of their large parcels to the next, and this is one of them that is all part of that area. It was brought to my attention that one of the farmers that is farming that had said that they would gladly have bought that land had they known that it was going to be for sale for their farmland. And we need to keep in mind that our farmers in this area only have so much land, and they're putting a lot of money and investment into farming, and they need to know that we, as a county, are protecting them from land getting eaten up in a checkerboard pattern, and then they're losing it. So, you know, that takes away from their investment also. So for many reasons, I just don't see where this is a unique circumstance. It's not riparian lot, it's agricultural, and I think there was over 4,500 acres I read in the land use plan that is available for development in the northwest quadrant that is fairly, you know, fairly underdeveloped, that would be possible lots. And the reason that those lots are part of the land use plan is so that developers, such as this one, would know what lots to buy, that you should be buying lots that are in the land use plan, so you know that you can, your investment is something that you're going to be able to profit from. But agriculture is not one of them. So, for that reason.
Right, thank you. Anyone else that would like to comment? Gentleman there in the back.
Brent Crast, 12290 Estes Avenue. I own the property on the south end of this, adjacent to it. And when I bought this place, my place 7 years ago with my family, we love the country. We moved to get away from people. As much as I love all of my neighbors and I get along with all of them, I don't want anyone else to come around, to be honest. And when the farmer that farms this, he's been farming it his whole life. When he was a kid, and he still farms it. When this went up, the owner that owned it prior gave him an offer, and it was too much. It wasn't worth the parcel. But what Saeed bought it for was a lot less. And if he would have known what it went for, he would have bought it for it. But he never got the opportunity. I don't know how he got connections, but he bought it for so little and he wants to develop it and make so much. I had a neighbor that lives by me that wanted to buy just less than an acre just to put his septic on it because he's gonna need a new septic soon. And so I basically said, for $200,000, you can have an acre. It's absurd. He also said, otherwise buy it for almost 800. It's all about the dollar. And like the one gentleman said, where is he? If he really wants to do something, if he was building a house here, fine. I wouldn't be fighting it. Or if his family, 100%. But when you want to sit here and develop it, and all of a sudden it'll start changing everything around here. And if you start now changing things like this, you're gonna see people buying land and trying to split it, and all the farmland's gonna be gone. And we do have to support our farmers. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to comment? Is there anyone else that would like to comment? Gentleman there?
Hi, Sean Schultz, 4967 128th Street. And I just want to reaffirm what everybody else has already said, so there's not much more to say to that, other than the fact I wanted to be on the record and also let you know there's another letter from one of the residents. I don't know if Barry wants this, or who do we give this to?
Yeah, give it to Barry after you're
Okay.
finished.
So I just want to reaffirm that we want to have this rejected. Thanks.
Right, thank you.
Who is that letter from? Just so we can get it on the record.
Julie and Bruce Orbach.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this matter? If not, then we'll bring it back up here to the board. And Paul, if you want to step back up, if you want to have any comments.
Mr. Chairman, I'll read this so that it's entered into the record. As concerned citizens living on SS Avenue, we are against the rezoning of the agricultural land across the road from us. We choose to live in a rural area and wish to keep that footprint. The land is better suited for agriculture to help feed America than to add more congestion. Many individuals living on or near the vicinity of this property attended Silver Creek Township Board and Planning and Zoning meeting on 5/7/24, where they voiced their opposition to rezone this land, and it was voted unanimously not to rezone. Please accept our thoughts and opinions on this matter. Thank you, Bruce and Julie Urbach.
Right, thank you, Barry. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So you all know that I know the rules pretty well. We are asking, we aren't in the land use plan. One of the reasons why I even agreed to represent this was one of the things that I do feel is unique about it, and you can argue, so there's a lot of arguments and people are going to disagree with me, depends on what you want out of it, but there's a lot of arguments that developed land is better for wetlands and lakes than agricultural land, just because of there's more grass, there's less pesticides and things like that going on there. We got a piece of property on Lake Waconia that the Soil and Water actually said that. That can go either way. You may not agree with me, you may agree with me, but I do believe that through proper management and proper development and putting grass and things that are on the ground year-round is probably better for wetlands and lakes. So that was one of the reasons why I did take this on. My client does know that it's a long shot, but it is right adjacent to other things. The plan is, I mean, essentially on the other side of the lake, and it's half mile away on the other side. So we are close. It is an odd-shaped parcel. We've got property that's disconnected. So that's why I believe that it is unique, it is rare. Now it's up to this board to decide where they fall on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
What is the board's thoughts?
Does
Dan?
Mr. Chair, does anybody know why the road was moved in the first place? Is there any record of this?
Yeah, the road was moved because the original road was so tight to the back of those houses in Amber Lake that it was virtually the road, a house, the water. So they moved the road back to be able to give those people a little more property and sewer and that type of thing. That's why the road was moved back, and for safety.
Okay, so it wasn't where the landowner had built the road himself?
No.
Okay,
This was a township project.
thank you. I
Silver
just
Creek
wanted a little
Township.
history on why it was moved.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, just to make sure that it's perfectly clear, yeah, this property is not riparian. When I say that, it does not touch the water, so that we do not have any access to the lake. And there is not a public access on the lake that I know of.
I don't
Sandy?
know. I just don't understand what makes this rare and unique, why we would change it from agricultural. I agree. I think it should remain agricultural. It's my opinion.
Okay. Any other comments? Questions?
Well, I have a comment. I appreciate Mr. Otto coming here to talk to us and give his explanations, but I do think if we're going to look at this further as in terms of granting any sort of request, that I am not at all familiar with this piece of property, and I would want to have a site inspection done, so.
For site inspection, we were out in that area about 3 years ago. The lots on Amber were riparian, and we did a site inspection on that, if you remember being out there.
Well, when I look at these maps without having real pictures, I don't remember exactly, because we've been on so many lots, things. So I need a refresher course if I'm going to have any further discussion on that. And if other people do remember, they are welcome not to accompany me, but I would like to have a site inspection so that I can go and refresh my memory.
Any other comments? Questions, concerns?
Can I make a motion?
You can make a motion.
I'd like to close the public hearing and direct council to prepare findings based on the record and discussion consistent with the denial of the request to rezone, and continue the matter to June 6th, 2024.
I second that.
Motion made and seconded. I guess my question would be for legal counsel, have we had enough discussion for you to have findings, being there was not very much discussion brought up?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, my notes today were actually phenomenal from the public here. I think they hit on the land use plan very well. They talked about how that this is just simply row cropping, how it's second-tier development, how we need to protect our farmlands, how there is other areas suitable for development in Silver Creek Township and the Northwest Quarter, and how that this literally is just row cropping. Field that's completely flat, has nothing unique on it, has nothing of substantial character that would in any way warrant any sort of development. So I think the public said everything I think this planning commission could have said.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. I have a motion and a second on the floor. Do you have anything, Dan?
One thing. I mean, we just went through this in our township, if you remember, not too long ago. And I'm always in favor of smart development if they want to do things in a good way. And as far as the circumstances surrounding why this is developed and the kind of person that's doing it, we're not supposed to look at that. We're supposed to look at what's happening to the property. And I've always given the benefit of the doubt when it seems like somebody claims it's rare and unique, that we should look at it. So I'm kind of agreeing with Jan on this one. That's where I'm at.
Okay. Well, we have a motion right now on the floor.
Chairman, it was noted, I think the township knows this well, and it was noted that, from, the audience and our notes, that it is not, it's not approved by the township. And I feel like the township knows that area well, and they were part of the land use plan, and so that's why I disagree. I think we can take their word for it.
And I respect that, Mr. Chair. Just one added comment. In Cokato Township, we did this very same thing, and the township did not approve of that either, so. But we still did a site inspection. Thank you.
All right, is there any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor of staff doing for a denial, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same way.
Aye.
Motion carries, and let it show that Dan Bravender voted against and Janice voted against, but motion carried.
And for the representative for the applicant, if the applicant chooses to dismiss in between, they can still do that in this matter. So if they wish to do that, just have them let us know. We'll prepare the document for them to sign for withdrawal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute chairman's break before we continue on.
That's 12. We got 12.
All right, Sandy. Call the meeting back to order. Number 7 on the agenda is Thomas Burrell. If you want to give up and give your name for the record, and we'll get started.
Hi, Tom Burrell, Waverly, Minnesota, and we're requesting the unplatted subdivision just off of Emerson Avenue into two 10-plus acre lots following the 300 feet of frontage.
If you want, we'll let Barry give
Sure.
us an overview, and then
Good.
you can take it from there.
Sure, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as the owner noted, this is a 21.44 acre parcel with road frontage along US Highway 12 and Emerson Avenue Southwest. That should be southwest, not southeast, in Woodland Township. Property is zoned agricultural residential. That rezoning was in 1993 and created what amounts to a 2-lot subdivision. So the parcel you see in blue, as well as the parcel west of that. So this was subdivided into a 2-lot subdivision at that time, both of them being over 20 acres. This request is to re-subdivide that eastern 21 acres into two 10.77 acre lots. Both lots would have the required minimum road frontage and the required acreage to meet it. Environmental health has been through it and has found there's adequate septic sites on the property. Both Woodland Township and the City of Waverly have recommended approval. The City of Waverly, we want to comment from them. This is in the transition area and is, directly across the street from city-owned property. The solar farm that is there to the east is actually a city parcel, so it borders the City of Waverly on what should be on the east side of this property. We did not receive any other comments on this request.
Okay, thank you.
Scott?
Anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I would just add that this property was originally owned by my grandparents, currently owned by uncles and an aunt. And so my family, we're planning to build a home on the southern portion of that subdivision. So we would be purchasing one of those two parcels from my family.
Okay. Is there any questions here from the board before I open it up to the public? Is there anyone, if you want to have a seat for a second, is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this matter? Please give your name for the record.
Dick Burrell, 4859 US Highway 12 Southwest, Waverly, Minnesota. I own the adjacent property to the west, and I think it would be really nice to have my son and especially my little grandchildren be my neighbors. So I kind of softly in favor of this.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this matter? If not, we'll bring it back up here to the board. Yeah, you can step back up. I guess, do you have any responses to that?
I will be very happy to be near my family.
Cheap babysitting.
Yep.
All right, is there any other concerns, questions?
That's pretty
Mr. Chair, this is pretty much cut and dried as far as I'm concerned. I would be prepared to make a motion.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve a conditional use permit for a 2-lot unplatted subdivision in accord with the survey completed by Schoberg Land Services Incorporated dated August 11th, 2023, with revisions dated April 6, 2024, job number 9270, with the following conditions. Number 1, if required by Woodland Township, access permits must be obtained before any construction activity commences. Number 2, per feedlot regulations, the AR parcels will be allowed a 1/2 animal unit per acre and will not be allowed to reach 10 animal units.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 8 on the agenda is Michael Bunn. You want to give your names, please, for the record?
Michael Bunn,
Ryan Sarkinen.
All right. Gary, when you are ready.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this property actually is directly to the south of the previous item. It is 72 acres, which includes the portion that's under the lake. The total net acreage is going to be somewhere less than that, based on the removing the acreage that is underneath the water. It is bordered on the east by Emerson Avenue Southwest, the city of Waverly, and that same solar farm referenced earlier that is on that city parcel, and on the west by the unnamed natural environment lake. The property to the north is ag residential. The request is for a church, a cemetery, and associated activities that occur along with that. We do have the site plan as noted here, which has capacity for the cars needed for the services that they're going to provide and the seating within their area. They do have a stormwater management plan that is part of this. We'd also need to, if approved, there's some conditions that have listed out, that all gets submitted at the time of permit applications with appropriate approvals from the jurisdiction that need to approve soil and water, MPCA, and then proposed structure sizes as noted. So we did receive approval from the recommendation for approval from both Woodland Township and the city of Waverly. Woodland Township did reference that they may require dust control at the applicant's expense.
Okay, thank you.
I should note that the SWCD has indicated that the plan would not impact wetlands. However, the stormwater management plan is still under review, so they have that into the soil and water for review right now.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Anything you would like to add to that?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and the commissioners. Thank you, Barry, for your staff report and covering that well. We, just 11 short years ago, we were standing before this body for the same purpose. We built a facility in Delano on County Road 13, and we learned much going through that process. And one of the things we learned is this is a difficult thing for many people to understand. Why do we need another church? And we're fortunate that our congregation has grown such that 3 years ago we were instructed to find land, get approvals to build a church. And this is the parcel we landed on. So it's our hope tonight that the board will agree with the township and with the city and give us the approval. And we welcome any questions.
Okay. Anybody want to have any questions to start with, or I will go to the public? If you guys want to just have a seat, I will open it up to the public for public comment, and we'll go from there. Go ahead. Gentleman right there in front.
Josh Burrell, 4838 70th Street Southwest. I grew up about half a mile from here and went away for a long time and came back and moved back to where I grew up. And I tried to buy this land to just try to protect it and keep the rural character of it. And I called the county about, developing on it, and they had said, this is rural land. Wright County is trying to preserve rural land, farmland, stuff like that. So I was a little disappointed when I wasn't able to purchase it for the price. To keep farming it at the price it was asked for wasn't sustainable, because considering over half of it is swamp and forested land. So it's kind of ironic then that it sold, and then this church is trying to, you can see the plan there, they're going to develop all 30-some acres that is there, and that's not preserving agricultural or rural land. There's got to be someplace else that, that's within city limits or something, that a church could be built without taking away this land from the rural character of Wright County. That's it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Gentleman there.
Mr. Chair, I'll give him a gut punch later. Charlie Burrell, 4359 70th Street Southwest, and also own the property at 6469 Emerson, that's just to the south of this property. I want to address what my nephew just said. This property is going to be not farmland no matter what. If it was not sold to the church, it's going to get sold to a developer. It's going to get annexed to the city of Waverly. It's going to be industrial. It's going to be housing. And I tell you what, when I heard that they were going to put a church in here instead of a housing development, I was rejoicing. This is not going to stay agriculture. If you bought it for $600,000, it would,
Address the
okay,
board,
sorry.
please.
If somebody bought it and paid $600,000 and lost money every year farming it, but that's not what's gonna happen with this property. We just have to be realistic. And I tell you, can't say enough good things about this church and the people that run it. They built just a quality church. My wife and I went down, actually attended services a few weeks ago. It's a beautiful, beautiful church, and it's packed. They have chairs down the aisles to keep the people in. It's just amazing. So they're doing something right. But I just want to tell that to everybody here. We should be thankful that this is what this use is going to be. All it needs to be annexed to Waverly, and it would be something totally different. So I'm like I said, I'm rejoicing that this is before, and I hope that you approve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gentleman over here.
My name is Joe Burrell at 6407 Emerson Avenue Southwest. And we're on a lot that's just south of the property, and a small 5-acre lot over there. And I just have a couple questions. One is the lighting of the church layout in comparison to where the surroundings, how that would be set up. I mean, are they going to be on 24 hours a day? Or are they going to be just on certain periods of time? I mean, considering the proximity of the parking lot to where our place is located. And number two, just traffic flow. I mean, is it just a Sunday service they're having in the morning? I mean, things like that. Just kind of curious. Or is it activities 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? I'm being extreme, of course. But so those are a couple kind of questions I have to ask about to the church. Just general questions like that. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Gentleman over here.
Jeremy Schubel at 2392 40th Street, Southwest, Waverly, Minnesota. I just want to put my recommendation in that I'm really in support of this church being built here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else that would like to comment? Gal there?
Patty Burrell, 4859 US Highway 12 Southwest, just west of this property is where I live. We heard the church was going to go in, which I would prefer farmland. I'm okay with the church. We heard absolutely nothing about a cemetery until just when this letter came out the other day. And to me, I'm totally in favor of churches. I have no issue with a church. But a cemetery is something that if the church would decide they no longer want to be there, the cemetery wouldn't leave. So it would continue to be there for like forever. So it wouldn't be something that would the church might go bankrupt and decide they don't want to be there anymore. They might choose a different location for the church, but you don't move a cemetery. And that's right in the middle of not our property, but it's right in the middle of farmland there. So that's my concern.
Right, thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak on the matter? Gentleman there.
Good evening. My name is Jared Bunn, 3167 Dalton Avenue Southeast, Buffalo. I just want to put a recommendation that we move forward with this project. I approve of it. It's a good endeavor for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to comment? Gentleman over there. Go over here.
Good evening. Sam Redinger, 2678 State Highway 25 Southeast, Buffalo, Minnesota, 55313. I would like to make a recommendation that I provide on record that I would support this project if the board would allow it to move forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman there.
Gentleman's kind of loose. Dick Burrell from 4859 US Highway 12 Southwest, Waverly, Minnesota. I just have a general question about the height of the church. They had put a plan up, and it looks like it's kind of a low-profile church. But maybe the church could address like how tall it is. I fly small airplanes in this area, and I wouldn't want to bump into a roof.
Thank you. Go, Charlie.
I just forgot one.
Uh-oh. You're over 60, right?
My apologies, I did forget one thing. When I was at the township meeting, and they said, that they would, kind of probably require dust proofing from Highway 12 to 70th Street. And I've talked with some of the church representatives. They said they would be agreeable to that until such time that the city took over the road or whatever, and it became blacktopped, or the township started doing dust proof on everything or whatever. So, but that would, I think, would and should be a requirement to do that section of the Emerson from Highway 12 to 70th Street. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman there in the back.
Yeah, my name's Mike Wren. I live at 4381 Southwest Highway 12, Waverly. Actually, not too far from, I got the solar field in my backyard. I'm just trying to understand that these guys are gonna be in the township, not the city limits, because I don't wanna get roped into city limits and somebody shoving a water pipe down my throat in front of my yard. Because they already did it with the solar field. They put a drainage tile down the right of way and tore up my ditch. So it's like, I don't want to be another saga story with problems with water.
Okay.
So that's my biggest concern right now, but I'm for it. I'd go for it before I'd go for the solar fields, but.
All right, thank you there. Anyone else that would like to comment? If not, we'll bring it back up here to the board. If you guys want to, applicants would like to step back up. To start with, do you have any responses to some of the things that were brought up?
Yeah, we'd like to address some of the questions. They were excellent questions. The facility is going to operate the same as Delano, and that is we have a Sunday worship service at 11 a.m. and a Sunday school currently starts at 10 a.m. We do not use the facility during the week other than cleaning crews will come in on like a Tuesday evening for usually around an hour. And then there's other occasions where the board will meet there one evening every once in a while. We have occasions a few times a year where there'll be a grouping of meetings where it'll be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of event. Other than that, we do not have any activities at the facility, such as youth camps, things of that nature. As far as lighting goes, it's going to be the same as what we do in Delano. It's on a timer. It's one of the feedbacks that we got from neighbors at that time was light pollution. So the lighting accommodates that factor, and it's on a timer, so they're off when the property's not being used. And as far as the height of the building, we are restricted to 35 feet, and I believe the pitch of the gable is currently around that 32-foot mark. I could be off a little bit, but it's real close to that. And to the last question that Mike Wren had was, we will not be hooking up to the city sewer and water unless we're annexed in at some point. We will be running off well and septic.
Okay.
The septic has been reviewed by environmental health, and is soil borings and the information we've received are adequate for what the sewer code calls other establishments. So they have provided septic plans for a primary septic system that meets all code requirements.
Okay, thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
I guess one of the questions that was brought up is the cemetery. Is there a need? Do you feel a need for the cemetery? I know it's a loaded question, but some of the things that were brought up, I mean, you're starting a new cemetery, and that is a long-lasting, perpetual thing.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do feel the need, and we also understand, understand Patty's concerns. You know, we live in a time where churches may be closing faster than they're opening. But our congregations have been expanding, and we don't build the churches with the intent to move. We build them and they grow. And that is not our affair. That is God's affair. And it's not our intention to build this facility and ever move.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any other comments, questions? Dan?
Maybe Barry, if you could bring up the map, if they could show me where the cemetery is gonna be. Can you see it?
Yes, on the,
Oh, it'd be to the south,
yep, correct.
and it would come all the way out to the, no, it wouldn't come out, it'd be behind the 5-acre property that's against the road there. Okay, thank you. I guess I was just looking at access to it, and, you know, if you get to a time when a cemetery has to be taken care of, it's nice to have access to it. It looks like it's behind everything, so. We have a couple in our township that are well over 100 years old, so. And they're right on the road, so they're a little easier to access and take care of, but. And I'm assuming that you would or plan to have a cemetery board in place?
Yes, we do have a cemetery committee that manages it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Right, Greg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the applicant, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I think it was in 2015, this parcel had a solar farm approved for it. I'm guessing you have all but abandoned that use, given what I see here. And I'm wondering, would you be opposed if we put a condition in here asking that you just formally revoke that prior to issuing a building permit?
I would like to visit with the board if that's okay, but my feeling is we would not be opposed to that.
I think it was pretty much the whole parcel, if I remember right, but.
And certainly with the church facility down there, it wouldn't be conducive. So.
Yes, that's quick. I think we want to clean up our records, so. I hate to put you on the spot with that.
No, very good question, and we would agree to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ken?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Bunn, I recall when your congregation was here for your church over in, it was Franklin Township, I believe it was?
Yes, Commissioner.
A few years back. Could you tell me informally, what were some pitfalls and what were some joyous occasions that you ran into in that process over there? And have you learned anything that you'd incorporate in your proposed plan here?
Excellent question. Some of maybe the ahas that we learned in that process was the amount of opposition that can come in a project like this. For us, it's church. It's the most important thing. Why would anybody be opposed? But, you know, it is such a thing that nobody wants it in their backyard, but it has to go somewhere. So that was one of the things that we learned. We need to try to be more diligent in visiting with the neighbors. And Ryan and I did have an opportunity to visit with many, not all, but several of the neighbors, and an amazing group of people that we had an opportunity to visit with. The other thing that we learned was, and rightfully so, drainage is a concern for many of the people around these properties. And that Franklin Township piece, there were some issues. And since then, the drainage has greatly improved.
I remember a question, I believe it may have been posed by Franklin Township supervisor, but he was concerned about traffic, turn lanes, farm machinery on the road, et cetera. Did any of those fears come to fruition in Franklin Township?
We are not aware of any concerns that have been raised for that. Part of the condition when we did receive the CUP was putting in a southbound right-hand turn lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. So if your other church in Franklin Township grew, as Mr. Burrell had stated, is there Is there room to grow this church, or then will you then just move to a bigger piece of property in another part of the county and leave this behind? You know, it's the cemetery that's concerning.
Another great question, Commissioner. So we do not expand the facilities. We build additional is how it works. What happened was the congregation had grown in Minnetonka to beyond capacity. We bought the Franklin Township piece, built that, and it's even difficult for me to comprehend, even though I'm a member, that we are now here having to go through this process again due to capacity constraints. So with this Waverly piece, if the world should stand and should God so prosper this congregation, and we are fitting the same situation in the future, we would keep Waverly and build another building.
So you're keeping the Franklin Township?
That is correct.
Okay,
And Minnetonka is also still there.
okay, good to know.
So if I could just follow up on that, given what I see here, you're not planning to expand this either east or west? Because it looks like you have room. I mean, you kind of have some vacant land to the east, and you got a lot of vacant land from there to what I presume is your secondary septic system. You would not be anticipating an expansion here. I mean, plans can change, but just kind of curious what your design concept was here.
Yeah, excellent considerations. We would not plan to expand this. We have learned over building many of these facilities across the country that this is about as large as we should have it. And then once it gets beyond that, it's time to build another building.
So it won't be a mega church?
I'm sorry?
It won't be a mega church?
Correct. We don't think it's mega.
I think that's a good idea.
What was that, Janice?
I said, I think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Dan?
I think, Mr. Chair, I can attest to what he's saying. I mean, we have two of them in our area in Cokato. One of them is apostolic, and it's about that size, same size. Matter of fact, the building looks identical to this one here. But it is pretty typical for them to move onto a new building, not to just keep growing into a 5,000 megawatt or mega church, but it's typical for them to expand into another building, and the congregation uses both of them. So I guess I have seen it in the past, so I assume that's going to happen in the future.
I have one more comment.
Janice?
I belong to a little country church in Candiota County, and that was built in 1870, and we have a cemetery all around it, and it will be there forever. And it's a good thing. That's where I'm going to be when I pass on to another heavenly place.
Mr. Ken?
Mr. Bunn, one other quick question. Just to protect my good friend Dick Burrell there in his airplanes, you don't have a steeple on your church, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Not good.
Feel better, Dick?
I guess one of my thoughts or questions are, in the state of the world we live in today, is a school something within your congregation's realms? Because that does somewhat change the use of it. I mean, is that something that has been discussed in your congregation? To have, a school then brings in traffic every day and kind of changes the scope of a church.
Excellent question. I could not speculate on the on the future, but it's our belief and our feeling that our children should attend public schools.
All right. So, right now, I'm not recognizing the floor right now. So, is there any other questions, concerns here?
Mr. Chairman, if I may
Yes.
add one more thing, we would welcome any conversation with the neighbors if they have further questions.
Okay. Any other concerns here? If you want to have a seat, I'll open it up to the floor one more time. And if you have a concern to come up, you have to come up here on record to say anything. And please state your name.
Josh Burrell. I could just talk to them on the side then if they open it up to that. I'll just ask, I guess. My question would have been, what about the other any plans for the other 50 acres that are basically, wetland and across the wetland? That was my question.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, I opened it up, so I'll give one more round and then that's it.
I just have a question. Again, Joe Burrell, 6407 Emerson Avenue Southwest. And the question was the mound system as on the plan, as I was looking at it, the location of the mound system. Where is the mound system? Is that the mound system on the north side, on the plan there of our lot?
It's the two long, narrow pieces that are in between. So the spot that you see with a lot of lines really close on the far north property line,
Yeah.
that's a drainage pond. So the mound itself there are two mound sites where you can see B19, B18, B17, those are soil boring locations. That is the actual septic location.
Say that again, please.
So the septic location is south of the pond. So that says pond across the top.
Okay. Right there, okay. All right, so what is the,
Is that secondary site? That's secondary. Okay, the primary is the one that's up in the southeast corner, right east of the parking lot.
Right there, okay.
I just saw that one too.
So that's, okay, so that's where the primary mount system is?
Yeah.
Okay, so my question is, that's on our northern side of our lot, how big of a mount system, maybe it's not a big deal, obstructive, obtrusive to where it's located, but we do have our farmhouse right now has a drainage issue and water getting into my basement, coming in from the north side. And I know that's farther away from the house. I just don't want to have any more issues as I'm trying to resolve my problem. And that's why I'm asking this question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess there is a stormwater management plan that is being reviewed for this, and so there will be basically a whole site layout on where all drainage is going. As noted in this plan, that pond is the stormwater retention pond with water from the surfaces going to that location. Most of those surfaces going to that location. As far as the mound size, I'm not real good at reading sewer designs. It's as what's called an other establishment that is fairly extensive. So we have staff that review these and are trained to do them. Actually, we have one of the few advanced inspectors in the state, and he's the one that reviews these other establishments, and he approved the system.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Gentleman there.
Dick Burrell, 4859 US Highway 12 Southwest, just west of here and north a little bit. Where is the well, and do they have any idea how deep that might be and how much water they might draw out of the, for use? I think it was 900 people in the church possibly.
Okay.
Because I don't want my well to go dry.
Gentleman there, go ahead.
Greg Halling Engineering, PE, prepared the plans for this system. Typically, the peak water use is twice during the year when they have the 3 days of services. And what we've found in Delano, which is the same number of seats there as here, that we're typically, we have the way it's designed is we have a large holding tank to hold the water from those 3 days, and then actually put it out into the drain field over about a week to 8 days. Our last meetings that we had there, we ended up taking 8 days to get rid of that water, and it was about the maximum we can put into the mounds are maximum design is a little over 2,000, but we typically go at about 1,400 gallons a day unless we need to go at the max. But so 1,400 times about 8, we're at about 12,000 gallons for that, the biggest events that we have there. So it's a fairly small amount of water. We don't do any irrigation in Delano, right? So it's, the only water is just domestic use. We haven't been irrigating, so. I don't know what the typical wells are in that area. I did not look at them, but I'm assuming they're fairly deep. probably, but 140, yeah. It'll 400. That's deeper than we are in Delano, so.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Gentleman in there in the back.
Okay, I'm Mike Wren, 4381 Southwest Highway 12. Okay, you're talking about watering, because I've got a feeling it's gonna have to have sprinklers in. So you're gonna have a capacity of water on hand. I mean, I don't know if they're prepared for it, or, because I know I worked for a sprinkler outfit, we had to put in tanks to hold out like 4,000 gallons or 3,000 gallons of water before the fire department got there to help catch up, because sometimes their wells can't keep up to them,
Okay,
so.
all right, thank you. Last call. All right, if you want to come back up. If there's anything else you want to add?
No, just simply, if there's more questions, Ryan and I did leave our phone numbers with many of the neighbors, and please reach out at any time. We don't necessarily know how deep the well will be and if we're gonna have 2 wells, just how that'll be. But with Delano, we do have holding tanks for the sprinkler system.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns?
Well, I guess the only one I have at all is concerning the lighting, because where I live, we have to deal with that with the church right across the highway from us. And we had a pretty significant input into that type of lighting they put in, because it's very specific to downward lighting rather than pushing it out, so it's shielded in a certain way. I'm not a lighting expert, but they spent a lot of money in making sure that it wasn't shining out on the neighbors, it was shining directly down on the parking lot. And they had some lights on the front of the church, for instance, that lit up the front of the church, which they ended up taking out because they shined directly horizontal and it was really affecting the people around them. And so I don't know if there's a way to address that in a motion, but I think it is important for the lighting to be done in a way that's not going to affect the neighbors any more than, and I realize that it's just a few times that the lights are on at night, and but I think it's important to address that.
Okay.
Not quite sure how to address it verbally in an emotion, but.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Member Bravender, for lighting, generally, that kind of specificity, staff would want to see in a plan, because it's hard to verbalize what it is on that property, saying what it is. I'll just say, LED lighting is much more sophisticated than what we're used to with the old street lamps. I'm sure with people as they leave this building even tonight, they're going to notice half of the lights in this parking lot are motion activated as they drive out. So, I mean, there's a lot more advanced technology with it. So I don't know, if you're looking for a lighting design and you're concerned about it, then I know the next meeting already has 12 items on it, but maybe we need to get a plan in front of us and address it and have more specific comments as to lighting, whether it be timers or motion sensors or downward facing,
I think
or what
they
they're gonna do.
They already said there was gonna be timers on it, and, I'm okay with that. Because we have LED lighting to the south of us in a church parking lot, and it blinds me. And the reason for that is it doesn't have the proper shielding on it. So it's not the LED lighting, it's just the shielding on the lighting, that it directly goes down onto the parking lot and not out to the neighbors.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
I guess, Mr. Chair, Member Bravender, as far, I wasn't saying there's something bad about LED, it's just that it can be accommodated to literally be more directional. It's much better than the old street lamps of 10 years ago even.
Well, could it potentially be that we just have that all lighting be directed towards the interior of the property? One of the problems is I'm not a lighting engineer.
I'm not a
You can
lighting
provide me with a plan, and I have no idea whether it's going to accomplish what the commission is set out to do.
How much, you can see where we're hung up here on lighting right now. How much thought have you put into it? Any plans, anything you can present or comments?
I do not have a plan other than it's going to be similar to Delano, and that was feedback we received from the neighbors, and it's a concern that any of us would have. The lighting pollution is managed with the lights being on timers, only used when the building's being used, and they do not shine really outside of the parking lot. So nobody wants, we're going to be neighbors to these folks, and we do not want to upset them with bright lights. And as far as the lighting when we're not in use, there's a couple interior like corridor lights that might be on, just interior lights, so.
So you won't leave the porch light on?
Correct. Yeah, nobody wants to look at that.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to be okay with that.
Okay. Any other concerns, comments? Well, does the board want to proceed?
I'm all for going for a motion right now.
If we have a motion, we can also continue to discuss if necessary.
Okay, make a motion, a conditional use permit for church and cemetery in accordance with the discussion, the plans, and narrative on file with the following conditions. Stormwater management plan, we be approved by the Wright County Soil Water, what is that, district?
Conservation District.
Confirmate, and what is SWPPP?
Stormwater Pollution and Prevention Plan from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency.
Be submitted at the time of building permit application. Adequate parking must be provided on site. Parking on public roads shall be prohibited. Any drain tiles located on the property must be maintained. The cemetery must meet all federal, state, and local regulations. Large events shall only be allowed in accord with the narrative and description provided. Any requirements by the township regarding dust control must be followed. This request is subject to a one-year township review with subsequent reviews at an interval determined by the township. Any change in use or expansion requires a new conditional use permit.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. One thing that I would bring up within this motion is for the township, for review. We build a multi-million-dollar church and they review it and don't like it, then how do we reject it?
Yeah,
I
why is
guess-
that?
I think it would be mainly to address concerns as far as lighting, concerns as far as parking on the streets.
Oh, okay.
Use more than what is listed in the plan. They're using it 5 days a week instead of one day, most weeks, you know, that type of thing. It's regarding the conditions that are set. The church is the church, but if they don't follow the conditions, just like any other conditional or interim use permit, there's the potential for a revocation. They're again, not likely or anything else, but it is possible. There again, it's with any of these, just as anything else in the zoning realm, they get the chance to rectify any mistakes that they may make or change whatever behavior might be causing an issue. We deal with that on a daily basis. So this is fairly common for this, and it's a common thing for a lot of the stuff we see. And the townships will let us know when they think things need to be addressed, and they will ask us to have them come back and have a new hearing on it.
And then the township would know if the dust control is done, and then, and your lighting issue.
Issues?
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Holland, I was also thinking, at the annual township review, they can also discuss what they're going to require the church to put down for dust control on the road for the next year.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
So I
idea.
think that's a
Yeah.
good way to annually review it, so that the congregation knows what the township is requiring and what's being required from the conditional use permit for dust control to be placed.
And I brought that up just so it could be clarified as to what we're talking about. Okay? Any other discussion?
Yes, go ahead, Member Ravender.
So I was just questioning the dust control part because there was a request by one of the residents to have 70th Street to Highway 12 dust coated. And I don't think that's reflected in the motion. And I don't know if that's something you,
Was that Charlie?
I think, didn't the township make that? Was that
was
was the
Charlie.
recommendation from the
That was
township?
Charlie,
That
wasn't
Yeah,
was Charlie.
Yeah, it's not in the, it's basically according to what the township wants done.
So do we leave it as its motion because we have a yearly review with the township and
We-
township can work that out?
We can do that, yeah.
If the planning commission wanted, you could easily add in a condition number 6, that at a minimum dust control shall be provided from the south property line north to Highway 12.
Okay.
It's your motion if you
I'll
want to add
amend
that into it.
Yeah, you can add that to that.
That's fine with me. I would second that.
Okay. Is there any other discussion here with the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As noted prior, a condition should be added that the previous CUP approved 12/10/2015, document number A1315535, must be revoked prior to any construction activities taking place, and that's revoked by the property owner. There was reference by Member Bravender regarding lighting. You know, if the commission wants to add a condition on that, potential could be lighting must be on a timer to be off when church not in use and must not be directed off the property.
Okay, and the revoke is for the solar?
That's for the solar, yep.
Okay.
Okay, all right, let's add that too.
I would second that.
You're adding the lighting part of it too?
Yep.
Thank you.
dust proofing, revoke the solar and lighting.
Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Thank you.
May I ask a quick question?
Yep.
Is that annual review begin post-construction, or when would that period start?
It gets sent out roughly 11 months from today. We send that form out to the township. Township then responds back. They will contact you if they want you to come in. That's typically how the townships handle them. We don't control their process. Some of them might review them without having the property owners or applicants come in. A lot of them do. They'll reach out. We put contact information on those notices.
Sure. Okay.
And then if there again, it's put in there so that, okay, the church is up and running for 5 years, everything's good, they may not want to do it every year. So then they can establish the schedule that they want to review it once they're comfortable extending that time frame.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Let's see, that'll take care of that. Then we move on to number 9, an ordinance revision.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This has been a long-awaited matter that, actually, you want me to wait just a second? Yep.
Wait a second so the room can clear. If you can go outside, please, or go in the hallway to talk, so we can continue our meeting here. Please and thank you.
You feeling alone, Chris?
All right, Barry.
Okay, so I will point out a mistake in the staff report. So the first sentence says this whole process was started roughly 2011. Actually, we had a call with the DNR, a webinar on this stuff this week, and it was pointed out by the state's floodplain coordinator that we actually started the first meeting with this in 2008. So we've been waiting 16 years to get updated flood maps. So this started off as what they call a flood modernization project. Our current, or what I will call our old flood maps, our big blob maps, they're not transferable to Beacon GIS format because they're just so inaccurate that it requires surveys on every property that it touches to verify elevations. Once we flew the county using the lasers and got topography information based off that, they used that to update the flood maps. That was a very long process through FEMA. There was a ton of issues with contractors for FEMA and everything else. That's what took us so long. We finally did get their notification, which was provided in the packet from FEMA on the maps have now been approved. Our next step is to update our ordinance to reflect the updated maps and allowed the use of the updated maps. And given the age of our floodplain ordinance, we were required by the state and the federal government to update our ordinance to be consistent with federal law and state requirements. So the state of Minnesota sent us a model ordinance. Staff, myself, and council, and others in my office went through that model very extensively. We recommended some changes to it, and we modified it in some ways. And then we had to send that to the DNR for approval. They gave us our preliminary approval of it pending any potential changes at either this step or at the county board step. We are required to submit this back to them by the 18th of June in order to meet the deadline for the maps. This ordinance has to be in place by the time the maps go live. Otherwise, the county loses or our ability to be enrolled in the National Flood Insurance Program is suspended until we get this done. And so our goal here and the timing that we're using in getting this to this commission is so that we can get this approved, get this on the county board, and get it approved prior to June 20th. Actually, June 18th, which is when I have to send all the approvals back to the DNR. So this is the result of that process. If you've read through the amendment that we're proposing, it's a remove and replace. Instead of doing a strikeout and underline, which it would be twice as many pages because we're more or less striking out everything in our ordinance and replacing it, we just did a repair and replace. Will be the new language. The old language will just be taken out. There are some crossover stuff, so the floodplain has some very specific definitions that we can't change. But yet we don't necessarily want it to apply throughout the ordinance. So if we put it in our definition section, it would apply to every property in the county. So we did some massaging of the definitions. There are some changes to existing definitions. We've deleted some definitions because they're going to be contained only in the floodplain area. Our current ordinance has all those floodplain definitions in the definition section. And in order to keep that nice and separate, we're going to keep those definitions in the floodplain area, so they only apply in that area where floodplain exists. So that's where you see it. The back portion of the amendment is some strikeouts and some added language where we're maybe taking some of their language that is really good and adding it to some of our language because we like it. It makes our ordinance stronger, I think. But that's where we're at. And so this is the final. One of the final steps in this process. It's taken us 16 years.
Okay.
I was at the original meeting in 2008.
And what's that saying?
I've been here a long time.
Okay.
That's all that's saying.
Just want to clarify that.
Don't go to the age thing because we can compare.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any questions, any concerns with what?
I will note that we did get responses from 5 townships. I should have done this part of it. So Rockford Township, Corinna Township, Franklin Township, and Monticello Township all recommend approval of the ordinance. Victor Township indicated they disapprove, noting that in 155.008, non-conforming is too restrictive. Don't amend or remove time, years, limits from wording. So in that case, I looked through the language that's there. In the non-conforming section, what we did is we removed the only thing we changed is we removed the portion that references non-conforming needs in floodplain. And the reason we did that is this new ordinance that we're adopting has its own non-conformity section. So we don't need it in that portion of the ordinance because we're putting it only in the floodplain. So floodplain, when it comes to nonconformities, has some different connotations to it than what we normally see. Dan, you're more, at the Board of Adjustment, you deal with the nonconformities a lot. The language for nonconformities in floodplain is very specific to the floodplain, and so we didn't want, there's no point in having it in two spots. So we just struck it out from the nonconformities area. We still have nonconformities in the non-floodplain area, but the floodplain area now has specific language for nonconformities.
Any other?
Renee, we did, me and one of the other commissioners, along with Greg and Barry, reviewed it at the revisers and sent it forward with no changes.
Okay. So you're telling me you would vote yes?
I will vote yes.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Anything else? Greg, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just public comment.
Better bring it to the public.
Yep.
Chris,
Is
what do you
anyone
got
in the
to
public
say?
that would like to?
Come on, Chris, say something.
Say
You gonna-
something.
You gonna bring out the phone book and filibuster us, or what do you want to do?
No comment.
There we go. No comment from the public. I guess, do we have a motion? How does the board want to?
We have a motion, or you need one?
I need one.
I'll make the motion to approve this ordinance change.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Is there any other discussion? There's no other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way?
Sorry, I'm a little late, but the motion is recommend approval to the
Yes.
county board. I think I had that in there.
Yep. Motion passes.
We're ahead of you.
All right.
Do we have anything else we need to?
Site
cover?
inspection.
Site inspection.
Going across the county.
They're going from one end of the county to the other. At least you're doing it at the narrow end of the county.
Are we doing two?
Are we doing two or just?
Monty
one?
and Franklin.
Oh,
Going from
yeah.
County Road 30 to County Road 39.
Monty and Otsego.
Oh, corner to corner.
Monty and Otsego aren't that far apart.
It's
closer
the
to
narrower
Otsego.
portion of the county,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's closer to Otsego than.
but you're going from the South Fork of the Crow, more or less, all the way to the Mississippi.
I do that every day.
So June 6th is our next meeting, correct?
What is June 3rd? That's free, wide open for me.
June 3rd works for me.
June 3rd would work for me.
June 3rd,
And
I have nothing on my calendar, so I might take the day off.
8 o'clock.
8:30.
8:30.
But yeah,
8:30 here.
June 8:30 here.
June 3rd?
June 3rd.
Okay.
What day of the week is that?
Monday.
On Monday.
Monday, okay, yeah, that's good.
I don't know why this iPhone, I go to put in the appointment, and I start putting in P and Z, and it already puts down June 3rd. And I haven't selected June 3rd.
It's listening to you,
It's
it listens to
AI,
you.
it's
All right.
AI
Do we have anything
intelligence.
else to deal with here? Otherwise, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
We're over. Thank you.
How long
Okay,
do
now
we